Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
The last few days I've been playing some tapes of Srila Prabhupada talking about the appearance of Lord Ramchandra, Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman. It's very wonderful. So I thought we should start off with what is in the Bhagavatam. So we read a little from the first canto of the Bhagavatam. So first canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 3, what is it called? Canto 3, chapter 3, Bhagavatam, first canto, that's what it's called. And what's the name of the chapter? A greatly learned and erudite scholars of Haupting, Brandenburg, Midrand, Johannesburg, Soweto. Please do not answer all at once. Anyone know? Good start. Yes, chapter 3. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. This is chapter 3. And there is a list of incarnations, 22. So, let's just go over them quickly. Number 1, Kurama. Number 2, Sukara. Sukara being the boar incarnation. Number 3, Narad. Number 4, Naranarayan. Number 5, Kapila. Number 6, Dattatreya. Number 7, Yogya. Number 8, Rishabha. Number 9, Prithu. Number 10, Matsya. Number 11, Kurama. Number 12, Dhanvantari. Number 13, Mohini. Number 14, Nrsimha. Number 15, Vamana. Number 16, Bhrigupati, also Parashuram. 17, Vyasadeva. 18, Ram. 19, Balaram. 20, Krishna. 21, Lord Buddha. And the last one, Kalki, number 22. Obviously, Prabhupada has told us the incarnations of God are as numerous as the waves. How many people have gone down to Durban Beach but not swam? Just stood on the side and counted the waves. So the waves are more, or rather the incarnations of God are more than the waves. So we're talking about the 18th one. 18th one, Lord Ram. So let's see what is mentioned. Canto 1, chapter 3, text 22. Nara, Devatvam Atmana, Sura Karya, Chikirshaya, Samudra. You know what Samudra means? It means ocean. Samudra Nigrahadadini Chakre Virjanya Ataparam. In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Lord Ram in order to perform such pleasing work for the demigods. He exhibited superhuman power by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist, King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea. So, in order to set the mood right, we should read from our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, of course, is the inspiration and the source behind this Hare Krishna movement. And his two most important contributions is this mission, ISKCON, and his books. So we'll read from his books. This is called Purport or Tika. The personality of Godhead, Sri Ram, assumed the form of a human being and appeared on the earth for the purpose of doing some pleasing work for the demigods, or the administrative personalities to maintain the order of the universe. Sometimes great demons and atheists like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu and many others become very famous due to advancing material civilization by the help of material science and other activities with the spirit of challenging the established order of the Lord. So we, of course, are getting that now. The atheists, the evolutionists, since the time of Darwin, are challenging the supremacy of God, denying the existence of God, being so presumptuous as to say God is dead. They say that God is dead. Nietzsche said God is dead. For example, the attempt to fly to other planets by the material means is a challenge to the established order. I've been seeing this recently, these attempts at flying to Mars. And then you get this picture of Mars with some model that's probably made out of Lego or something. Meccano or Mego. And it's the type of thing you would see in a 6-year-old kid's bedroom, to be honest. And they're telling you this is Mars. So of course, from Vedic point of view, we would not accept that. But by propagating the idea that human beings can go to the moon and Mars, it's increasing people's faith in science and technology and taking that faith away from God. Prabhupada continues, the conditions of each and every planet are different, and different classes of human beings are accommodated there for a particular purpose mentioned in the codes of the Lord. Being puffed up by tiny success and material advancement, sometimes the godless materialists challenge the existence of God. They challenge. God does not exist. When the Russians first went up into space, one of the things they said was, we went to space and we never saw God. We never saw God. Ravana was one of them, and he wanted to deport ordinary men to the planet of Indra by material means without consideration of the necessary qualification. He wanted a staircase to be built up directly, reaching the heavenly planets, so people might not be required to undergo the routine of pious work necessary to enter the planet. Yeah, even in this material world, you want to go to some country, you need a visa. India is very difficult, and I have a British passport, and they always give you a hard time going to India. Prabhupada noticed this, and even in the late 70s, Prabhupada would want to meet. He met with Indira Gandhi and said, well, why do you make it so difficult? These people are preaching Vedic culture, they come to India to learn, and then after 6 months they have to leave. So this is one of Srila Prabhupada's main objections regarding Indian government, that they wouldn't give a visa. And even now they don't give it. And now actually they harass you. When you're a foreigner and you go to India, the non-resident, what is it called, the NRO? Does anyone know? The non-resident department. They harass you. Harass means, very simply, they want to bribe you. That's all. And usually you should give it in dollars. So Ravana wanted to build this staircase. He also wanted to perform other acts against the established rule of the Lord. He even challenged the authority of Sri Rama, the personality of Godhead, and kidnapped his wife. Well, that's quite upfront, kidnapping a man's wife. Of course, Lord Ram came to chastise this atheist, answering the prayer and the desire of the demigods. He therefore took up the challenge of Ravana, and the complete activity is the subject matter of a book called Ramayana. Because Lord Ramachandra was the personality of Godhead, he exhibited superhuman activities which no human being, including the materially advanced Ravana, could perform. Lord Ram prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones that floated on the water. The modern scientists have done research in this area that it's not possible to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord, by which he can make gigantic planets fly and float in the air, he made the stones even within the earth to be weightless, and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any supporting pillars. This is a display of the power of God. Yes, these planets, we're living on a planet. You see in the sky other stars, planets. Sometimes you can see Venus and Mars. So these planets appear to be just floating, like swabs of cotton, just floating. They're not falling. So then we will ask, how is that? So what will the scientists say? Someone speak. What's keeping the planets in their appropriate distances? Gravity. So then the next question is, who created gravity and who is enforcing that gravity? You create a law, that's one thing, and then you have to enforce it. The South African government, they create a law. You must wear a mask. But then they have to enforce it. Now, there's two things separate here. When they had this Kumbh Mela recently in India, and some 5 million people were taking bath, they couldn't create the law, you must wear a mask at the Kumbh Mela. Why? Because they couldn't go to 5 million people and insist, so they didn't bother. So the creator is God. He's the creator of gravity and all laws, gross laws and subtle laws. There are gross laws and there are subtle laws. And he is the creator of all of these laws. So Ramchandra is a person. He's a personality. He appeared 2 million years ago. Prabhupada says 2 million years ago. He says at least 2 million years ago. Because we have the Kali Yuga, which is 5,000. And then we have the one before that, which is the Treta. No, Dwapara Yuga, which was 800,000. And he apparently appeared at the beginning of the Treta Yuga. So Treta Yuga is another 1.2 million, 800 plus 400. So when we explain this to people, they're not able to understand it because they think human society only goes back so far. According to evolutionists, animal became a human being when two things happened. When he started to learn how to use weapons to fight, other than the claw, a weapon, like a stone or a stick. And secondly, when he created fire. That's when they say Australopithecus made the jump to a Homo sapien, or human being. Of course, we don't believe this. We don't accept this, and this is simply speculation. When Prabhupada came in 1975, how many of you were alive? 1975. Just like to see. Well, I was. I was alive. You were alive. There's two of us. 3, 4, 5. So Prabhupada came in 1975, and he was in Yogo, which is a district near Hillbrow. And it was Prabhupada's breakfast. So he took in his breakfast, which at that time, I seem to remember, was pieces of orange cut. And he wanted puffed rice, but we couldn't get puffed rice in Yogo. So we had to substitute it with Rice Krispies. So Ramanuja supplied the Rice Krispies. But in the Rice Krispies there was maybe a little bit of powdered milk and then a few pieces of coconut. You just add a few things to make it more delectable. And then he would also say, take some cashew nuts. So he'd finished his breakfast, and some or other, I had gone in to his room, the old brahmachari room, and Harikesh Maharaj was there. Harikesh Maharaj at that time was a brahmachari, and he was the servant of Prabhupada. It's very difficult, to be a servant of a guru. You think, oh, I'd love to. Very demanding, it's very difficult. Because you have to be on duty 24 hours a day. It's not easy at all. So, at that time it was Harikesh. Pusta Krishna Swami was Prabhupada's secretary, so he would transcribe the tapes of the lectures and answer Prabhupada's letters. Mr. Krishna Swami recently passed away last year in America. He's a very nice devotee, and he spent some 2 or 3 years in South Africa. So Harikesh Maharaj was explaining to Prabhupada, he had a map of the world. And he was explaining to him how Charles Darwin's theory was working, and how Charles Darwin had a son. I think we could call him Charles Darwin Jr. I don't know what his name was, George Darwin, whatever, So Harikesh was saying, yes, Charles Darwin's son, in order to refute his father's ideas, and in order to establish his supremacy when it comes to total concoction, because that's what it was, Maha concoction. He said that North America and South America were joined, and England, France, and Morocco, and the whole of down to South Africa, they were joined. And they were joined this way also. And then they split, and they opened up. And from that hole which would be the Atlantic Ocean, the moon came. And then the moon went up into the air and started spinning around. Harikesh was laughing. Prabhupada was also laughing. Sometimes Prabhupada would be in a laughing mood, almost like intoxicated, from the prasad, and very relaxed. And then he made a gesture with his hand and he said, yes, the moon went around and it went in the sky and then it hit the scientist on the head. And then Prabhupada made a gesture like, like you've been hit by your wife or something. You are hit by your wife. Yeah, let's not pretend. In front of the altar, and we have to empower the ladies. And they are allowed to do that sometimes, just to keep things in order, So Prabhupada made this gesture like that. So Ram Leela. So now I'm going from the sublime, I'm going from the ridiculous to the sublime. Pastimes of Rama are very famous. I'm not really going to get into the details, and they're not mythological. They actually happened. It is fact. It really did happen. There was a person called Ravana who had 10 heads. If he had 10 heads, how many eyes did he have? Quickly. How many?
20.
All right, if he had 10 heads, how many noses did he have?
10.
Right, got an intelligent crowd tonight. Good, correct. So Ravana really existed. And Lord Ramachandra vanquished him. It's called Leela. Pastimes. Leela. We don't have pastimes. We are controlled by the three modes of nature. What are those three modes? The mode of ignorance, passion, goodness. And according to how the mode affects you, that's how you think. And then when the thought comes up here, it transforms into an activity. Like you think, I want a pizza. I see the pizza trucks, the pizza motorcycle people, they're always going around. So you think, I want a pizza. So first of all you think, and then you feel it. Yes, that pizza, thick pastry or thin pastry with tomato and a little bit of cheese and salt, and maybe some people like it with pineapple. No, some people don't like it with pineapple, tomato. So then, now you've thought about it. Now you're contemplating the objects of the senses. Kaite Vishayam Pumsam. What's the next step? You want it. You eagerly want it to the point that you will phone the local pizza place and say, look, send it around hot, hot, hot. And I'll pay you cash. And then they bring it around on their scooter. So that's due to the influence of the mode of passion. You become a little passionate, you want to eat something. Ignorance, you become angry, you become violent. So we are forced to act according to the impulses born of the three modes of material nature. Sangha, Karana, Sangha, Sada, Janmas. But Krishna, he's not under the influence. Ramachandra, Vraha, Nishingade, they're not under the influence of material energy. Therefore, when they do something, it is out of their own sweet will. Now, a liberated soul is also in the same category, actually. A liberated devotees. But we're not liberated. Liberated means you fully realize your spiritual identity, that you are in Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsaliras, or Madhuyaras with Krishna, or perhaps one of his expansions like Ramchandra in Ayodhya. It means you fully realized and understood that. We haven't. We are conditioned souls. So there's a very nice section where Ram Leela overlaps into Krishna Leela, which I just wanted to read about. The different destinations above this earth planet is Swagaloka, where people live for a long time. The men are exceptionally handsome, not like down here. And the men and the women are even more beautiful. There is no coronavirus. There's no cold, there's no hot. Everything is just right. Swagaloka, and then it goes to next one, Janaloka. Anyone know? Janaloka. Tapaloka, I'm missing out one. Above Tapaloka, Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka is sometimes called Siddhaloka. This is where Brahma lives. To give you some idea, Brahma lives for 311 trillion years. But still there is death, and still there is an anxiety. It's material. This Brahmaloka is material. Now above that is Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha are billions and billions of planets, and each one is Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi. And within the Vaikuntha planets, we have the planet of Nrsimha. So if you're an ardent disciple and follower and worshipper of Lord Nrsimha, you will go to Vaikuntha. You will go to a planet where Nrsimha is present, and there you will reside. Vraha also has a planet. Then above, when I say above, from the spiritual point of view, it's above. If your position is to serve Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha, you will only be happy if you do that. You won't be happy if you're in Vrindavan. Something will be lacking. It won't be right. Your permanent relationship with God is called Stein Bhav. Bhav means emotion, and Stein means permanent. So if it's like Jai and Vijay, or Prahlad or Dhruva, it's Vaikuntha. You will not be happy anywhere else. Although we say higher and lower, for you this is the highest, Vaikuntha. But from the spiritual or objective point of view, above Vaikuntha is Ayodhya. So the chief resident of Ayodhya is who? Or Hanuman, and then Angada, and then Sugriva, and Lord Ram. So this is considered somewhat more superior because there's more ras. In Ayodhya, Ramchandra has father and mother. Who is it? Dasarath. And who's his mother? Kaushalya. So he has a father, he has a mother. He has brothers. Who is his brothers? Bharat, Yeah, so now with these relationships comes ras. Ras means a spiritual flavor when you serve someone else. But in Vaikuntha, Lord Nrsimhadev, have you ever heard of any information regarding Nrsimhadev's father? We know Prahlad's father. What about Prahlad's mother? There's some information about the mother, no information really about the father. You could say the stone column was the father of Nrsimhadev. No, there's information on Prahlad's mother, but yes, Nrsimhadev's mother, no information. Does Nrsimhadev have brothers? Like Lakshmana and Bharat? See, so there's less ras. There's less ras. Ras means relationship, but spiritual. So Ayodhya is superior. And then you go to Dwarka, and there you have Lord Krishna, but he has 4 hands. And Rukmini and so many wives. And also Vasudeva and Devaki. So it is superior to Ayodhya, but it is still shrunken. For instance, Ramchandra has wife. Who is some of his, Krishna Dwarkadish has wife. Who is some of his wives? Rukmini, Satyabhama, Kalindi, Jambavati, yes, Jambavati. So his relationship with them is a little formal. He doesn't dance with them. He doesn't play with them. But one time he played with Rukmini. Rukmini couldn't understand. He said to Rukmini, you know, Rukmini, you're such a qualified wife, and I'm such a nonsense. I think you should get a better husband. And what did Rukmini do? Fainted. She couldn't take the joke. In other words, it's reverential. By Ayodhya, it's still reverential. Not as much as Vaikuntha, but it's still reverential. So then from the spiritual point of view, superior to Dwarka is Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan we also have 4 prominent rasas. Shanta ras is absent, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Jayadharma. And Dasya ras, becoming the servant, has only the lower part, not the higher part. So there's devotees like Rabtaka in Vrindavan who serve Krishna with intimacy. And then there's friends. When your servant becomes very intimate, he becomes your friend. For you to have a friend, the friend has to be an equal. Do you understand that? Sometimes I see in modern New Age families, the father tries to be the friend of the son. Especially you see as the mother tries to be the friend of the daughter. The daughter gets all dressed up in tight clothes or whatever and goes off roller skating. The mother also goes. She tries to be the friend. Friend means equal. The mother can never be equal to the daughter. There always has to be that respect. So, there's friendship in the spiritual world, but only in Vrindavan. Then you may say, what about Arjuna? He's a friend of Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Yes, that was a type of friendship, that lower type of friendship. It wasn't so intimate. The friendship of the cowherd boys like Subal, Sudama, Sudama, Kalavinka, Gobata. This friendship is superior to the friendship of Yudhishthira, Bhima, Sahadev, Nakula, Arjuna. This is a lower type of friendship. And then when friendship, then we have Vatsalya, where the devotee himself or herself becomes the parent. You actually become the parent of God. God depends on you. In Vaikuntha, you depend on God. But in Vrindavan and Vatsalya Ras, Krishna depends on you. And the topmost parent, who is the topmost parent in Vrindavan? Mother Yasoda, a lady, mark my words, a lady has the highest position, not the man. Nanda Maharaj is second. Mother Yasoda's praying or love for Krishna is more intense than Nanda Maharaj. Please note this carefully. If you want to go to the highest levels of devotional service, you need a lady's body. Throw away the man's body. It's useless. Become a lady. And then above Vatsalya is conjugal. Conjugal love. Shringara Ras. Now, are there any men in Shringara Ras? One. Krishna. No one else from Midrand or North Phoenix or... There's no other man. If there's another man, it just mucks it all up. So again, the ladies, number one, the Madhurya Ras, Madhurya Ras. So of course, to get up to this high stage, one needs mercy. So this is what I wanted to read you. There's a very wonderful verse, commentary by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he's referring to Canto 10, Chapter 29, Text 8. Canto 10, Chapter 29, Text number 8. And he refers, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur refers to the sages in the forest of Dandakaranya. So, Lord Ram, with Sita, with Lakshman, and with Satrughan, they were banished. And they were in the forest of Dandakaranya. And in that forest, there were 60,000 sages. And they were meditating. And all 60,000, I'll read it, I'll explain it and then I'll read it. All 60,000 sages had one relationship. And it wasn't with Ram. Who was it with? Krishna. And what was the relationship? Friend, parent, or conjugal mother? The last one. All 60,000 had a conjugal relationship with Krishna. Although they were men, very skinny, in the forest of Dandakaranya, no doubt they were wearing their masks. They had their sanitizers. They were being very cautious and very careful. So they saw Ramchandra, and immediately on seeing Ramchandra, it reminded them of who? Gopal. Let's go Udipan. Rupa Goswami describes when something stimulates your love for God, it is called an Udipan. When something stimulates your love for Krishna, or Ramchandra, or Nrsimhadev, it's called an Udipan. And there are many Udipans. For the gopis, the main Udipan would be the sound of the flute, would be the moon, because at night they dance, is Udipans. If you're a follower of Ramchandra and you see a bow and arrow, that can be like an Udipan. It can remind you of Ramchandra. I give an example. You have a child and he goes to school and he comes back and he's late. He's missing. Perhaps he's lost his way, or he's been kidnapped. And the hours go by, and you're feeling great anxiety. Where is my son? Where is my daughter? And then you see one of their shoes in the bedroom, small baby shoe. Then immediately you start crying. You start thinking more of your son, more of your daughter. That is an Udipan. That's a material example. So the gopis or the residents of Vrindavan, they see the cuckoo, they see the peacock, they see the river Jamuna, they see the flute, they hear the sound of the flute, they see the cow, and this reminds them of Krishna. It's called an Udipan. So the 60,000 sages, they saw Ramchandra. Now Ramchandra is not Krishna. He's greenish in color. We haven't at this stage seen a greenish person. We've seen the yellowish. We've seen shades of brown. We've seen white. And we've seen pink. But purple, no, not so much. But green, not really. Ramchandra, beautiful green like an emerald. Marakato emerald. And when the 60,000 sages, they were all more or less on the same level. This is interesting. It awoke within their heart, Udipan, thoughts of Lord Krishna, Gopal. And they immediately thought of Gopal. Now they wanted to go and embrace Ramchandra, but it wasn't proper. We're not living in 2000, this is before. The man didn't sort of get up and run to the other man and embrace him like he's a woman. Now you can get away with these things. But now, you couldn't do it then. It wasn't proper. And anyhow, he was the king. And then also, how could 60,000 do it all at once? So they all embraced him within their heart. And Ramchandra knew exactly what they wanted. They wanted a relationship with Krishna. So by the mercy or kripa of Lord Ramachandra, by the mercy of Yoga Maya, Purnamasi, all of these sages, 60,000, in the future took birth as in the womb of gopis. In Vrindavan, or they took birth outside Vrindavan and then their mothers came to Vrindavan. All of them. And this group of sages who became gopis, what are they called? Famous name, never forget this, Rishi Chari Gopis, or Muni Chari Gopis. Probably the first name would be the easiest to remember. Rishi Chari Gopis. And in the next life, they all became gopis. And then they associated with Krishna. and with the other gopis who were more advanced, and gradually they developed pure love for Krishna. And Ram was nowhere in the picture. But it was Ram that started it. So this is how the Ramayana overlaps into Vrindavan. At least this is my conception. So let me read it to you. I sort of explained it. So now I'll give you, this is Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, pure Chakravarti Bhat. Upon seeing the personal form of Lord Ramachandra, the sages, 60,000, who were worshippers of Lord Gopal, immediately became elevated to the mature platform of spontaneous devotion. They immediately came to the level of spontaneous devotional service, automatically reaching the stage of firm faith. Now, firm faith is called Nishtha. Attraction, that's called Ruchi. And attachment. Attachment is deep Ruchi or Ashakti. These are the different stages. But they had not yet completely freed themselves from all material contamination. Ashakti goes to the stage of Bhav. Stage of Bhav is the beginning stage of love of Godhead. But it's described there is still a scent, ganda, sniff of material attachment. And the example in the Bhagavatam is Bharat Maharaj. He was on the stage of Bhav but became overly attached to an animal. What animal? A deer. Yeah. So they weren't completely pure. In other words, we can't say they were completely self-realized. Therefore, because they weren't completely self-realized, therefore, Yoga Maya arranged for them to take birth from the wombs of gopis, and some of these new gopis fully manifested Purva Rak, or loving attachment for Krishna, even before one meets the beloved. When these new gopis got the direct audience of Krishna and physically associated with him, all their remaining contamination became burned up, and they achieved the advanced stage of praying. Praying is pure love of God, no contamination. And then the essence of praying is sneha, and the essence of sneha is man, and the essence of man is pranaya, and the essence of pranaya is rag. And the essence of rag is anurag. Then anurag goes to mahabhav. You may have heard these words. None of these things you can experience in this body. This is our gross body made of blood, flesh. It's all for spiritual bodies. We can't. We can only go to the stage of bhav. Living here in Midrand, South Africa, India, we can only go to the stage of bhav. We can't go beyond that. Body will not handle it. We have material bodies. If I go to ISKCON, when there is no power cut, which is very rare nowadays, and I put in a 5-amp fuse into 500,000 volts and 10,000 amps, what will happen to the fuse? It will be obliterated. It will cease to exist. So when these higher stages of love of God, praying, sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag, mahabhav, when they begin to flow through a material body cannot handle it. Therefore they can't flow through the material body. We have a material body. But you can go up to the stage of Bhav. So these sages, they weren't even there. They were lower than that. These sages, they became elevated by seeing Lord Ramachandra. They came to spontaneous devotional service, spontaneous love. That's called Raga Anuga Sadhana Bhakti. And they automatically reached the stages of firm faith, nishtha. We talk about nishtha. This is the stage we want to be on, nishtha, steadiness. And higher than that is attraction, ruchi. You've got beginning ruchi and end ruchi. And then in between ruchi. And then ruchi turns into attachment or ashakti. And ashakti turns into bhav. That's the highest we can go in this particular life. So this is how Ram Leela overflows. I was always hoping for some connection, between Ram Leela and Vrindavan. So this is it. Ram Leela and Vrindavan. Of course, there are pastimes of the gopis and the cowherd boys dressing as Ramchandra and playing the part of cowherd boys, soldiers, Hanuman. That's also there. So this is very nice. So what should we pray to? What should we pray to Lord Ramachandra, Sita, Lakshmana and Hanuman? What should we pray to them for today? It's Ram Naumi. What is it we want from them? We want to increase our attachment to our Istadev. Istadev is our worshipful Lord. Now many of you don't really know, definitely, who is your worshipful Lord. Let us be honest. But if we were to ask Hanuman, who is his Istadev? Ramchandra. If we were to ask Prahlad, who is his Istadev? Shingadev. There was a great associate of Lord Chaitanya called Purushottama Mishra. And he was very attached to Nrsimhadev, so much so that Lord Chaitanya changed his name to Nrsimhananda. That's his Istadev. What about Murari Gupta, the 21st branch of the tree of Lord Chaitanya? He was a physician. Who is his Istadev? Rama. Why? Because he's an incarnation of Hanuman. Yeah. So we can pray in a general way. Please help me, dear Ram, Sita, Lakshmana, Hanuman. Please let me get deeper into devotional service. Please protect me from engaging in offenses to other Vaishnavas. The main way we drift from bhakti, devotional service, is by being offensive. Devotional service immediately recedes. What's the word recede? Withdraws at the slightest smell of sadhu-nindu. Sadhu-nindu means Vaishnava aparad. Nindu means to have bad thoughts, to have ill thoughts. I don't like this person. I'm going to get this person. Sadhu-nindu, Vaishnava aparad. So bhakti recedes, like the tide is going in. Tide is coming out. It's going in. Or before they have a tidal wave, at least the water goes in. It recedes. So avoid offenses. Pray to Sita, Ram, Lakshmana, Hanuman. Lord Ram is bona fide aspect of God. Same as Krishna in Tattva. Do you understand Tattva? Philosophical truth. But not the same in in Ras. Ras means spiritual flavor. Would Ramchandra jump, dance on the bank of a Jamuna, embrace gopis, play flute, and climb on the back of the cowherd boys? Is he going to do that? That's not his mood. His mood is one of being very chivalrous. Arrows, the bow, chivalrous. Satriya. It's a different rasa. The tattva is the same. So at this stage, we may not really know what is our worshipable deity. Sometimes people say Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balaram. Some people say Gaurnitai. Some people say Matsya, or Varma, or Shinade. And it is not so clear. Doesn't matter. Just continue your devotional service. And as you progress, you'll begin to understand. Rome was not built in one day. It takes a little time. But we're on the right path, and we just continue and avoid offenses, stay within Prabhupada's mission, and hear from Vaishnavas who have some knowledge on this subject, Rasik Vaishnavas, and then you'll begin to learn, you'll begin to understand. Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Ramanujacharya ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari, Vansha Kapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha, Orkutanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnava Namo. So, I think we should just sing a little Raghupati Ram.